Hello everyone, welcome to unit number 10 of this technology management class. Today we're going to talk on, today is the last topic, but that doesn't mean that it's the least important. Actually, I think it's one of the most important one because digitalization or digital transformations require a huge amount of effort and changes, structural changes, mindset changes, operational changes, so many changes that uh, sometimes they overwhelm employees, they overwhelm companies, and we're going to talk about that and the different types of changes that we have. So, like I said, first of all, we have what is a digital business transformation. So that means there's going to be plenty of changes. First of all, because implementation of technology looks at which processes are the most critical in our operation, right? We need to understand which areas really need a boost because they are part of our core competency. If we say, for example, we are in a fashion company and we really want to bring our digitalization to the next level, we understand that key areas, for example, will be design, and key area will be the production, right? The manufacturing of the clothes. So if we have digital systems in there, we start already to behave in a different way. We already have different models, different ways of producing in a more cost-effective way. And then of course that leads to efficiency operationally. But that means we also can sell more, we can produce more and more effectively, and that brings us to the next level of digitalization, which could be in the sense of the marketing. We can think of this, like I said, we can put our products more efficiently to the consumer, so we can send them faster. So again, it's the next step, and then there's many steps involved into this digitalization. Now, of course, that is the beauty of it, but we need to talk about getting the hands dirty, which is most of the processes will be or have already an existing system. If there's a poor system or no system, that's fantastic because that means, we have a blank sheet and we can work with anything. But when there's already a system that is so embedded into the company, it's very difficult to change it from analog to digital. No? We have some employees maybe working with Excel. We already have forms and we need to migrate all of that content into the digital content into another format, maybe in the format of an ERP or CRM or whichever it is. So this takes a lot of time and employees usually don't receive it well. That means I have to work more for you. Yeah, initially yes, but when we are able to communicate employees that we're doing it also for you, because that means your job will be simplified. Rather than perhaps doing some calculations on Excel, maybe the system is good enough or it has some AI or so, it can detect many things that perhaps you could miss or would do the job much more efficiently. So whenever we have a digital business transformation, we need to make clear to the employees what are the benefits in the larger scale as a company and in the shorter scale as an employee. So again, in this case, we need to understand that change management has many areas, right? In this case, we need to understand, for example, success factors like the leadership. They understand what they're doing, how they're doing. There's a project that says we're going to start with this. We have feasible goals, no, which is it's going to start from here and it's going to move into the direction, right? We need to understand also which employees are going to be working into this and for how long, and try to make them commit to the project of the digitalization. Otherwise, they just go in the middle of the way. Then, of course, make them own this project change, meaning that when we finish the project, they can be the ones saying, this project is my baby. I made it. I made the operation more efficient due to my implementation. So here we have, let me change myself to the other side. We have the 7S strategic framework and its application to digital business management. So in this case, we need to understand again, the strategy, what we want to achieve out of this digitalization, how are we going to plan the infrastructure and the systems. I mean, who is going to be involved in terms of the structure, and what systems we are going to be needing for that, who's going to be working on that. We're going to be thinking also of the style, in the sense of how we're going to carry out this project, right? What skills are needed in also to operate these new projects. If we don't have the skilled workforce, how are we going to train it? And then, of course, the superordinate, which is how comes the coordination of all. Like I was saying before, maybe we're just looking firstly into the production, maybe into the design, but then how we put everything together. So pretty much we're looking into that. You can look into this one a little bit more in detail on your own. So we have different types of change in business. Not all the changes are the same. So first of all, we have, for example, incremental change, which will be maybe we already have a system or a machine or a software, and we're just upgrading it, right? So maybe like I said, let's say, for example, we have CRM or we have an ERP, and the only thing that we're adding maybe is AI to it, which can read better models for us. So in this case, we can say it's incremental change. A discontinuous change is when we just eliminate systems that are already obsolete, or that perhaps don't have the same functionality that we want. We also have the organizational change, which is, I mean, in general, how the company is going to restructure and how any information systems can support our organizational change, no? In this case, how we can manage better the organization through technology. We have two that go very in hand, and this is depending on the agility of the company. We have companies that have anticipatory change. They foresee that the market may change in some years. Let's say, for example, here in the fulfillment areas of e-retailing, like let's say Coupang or so, they understand that, well, not they, I mean, a company like that understand that in the future employees may not be available, or perhaps that the workforce is too high. So they start to implement, for example, robotics and automation, right? Maybe the industry is not ready, but starting by it, they go through a learning curve, and then of course they learn and then move, and then they anticipate that the technology for robotics is going to be way more advanced in the future, and that we wouldn't need any humans. That's an anticipatory. Now reactive is the other way around, and it's a little bit of the discontinuous change. It goes together. It's more of we already have a system, it doesn't work, and after squeezing it to the very, very, very last drop, then we will change it, right? Once already the industry change, the business models change, then we are the ones who say, like, well, if everybody's doing it, let's do it. Now we do it, rather than anticipatory, which is the other way around. It's like, let's do it before anyone does it, so that we have a competitive advantage. It is always, of course, to have an anticipatory change, but again, we need to look at the resources of the company and understand which one is better for them, or which one is more suitable in terms of their resources, right? So here we have to think of the different business process management. So I mean, why we need that technology? So in this case, we first of all, we need to understand which processes we have. So in this case, we look at this one. For example, we have an approach supported by software tools to increase process efficiency. So in this case, like I said, we'll look at what kind of processes we have, and then we look at business process re-engineering. So first of all is how we can make those existing systems more efficient, or how they work better. And in the business process re-engineering is we are going to recraft the whole system so that it improves and changes in a much better way. Okay. This goes together. They all go together because usually we cannot exclude them. All they work together. So we have the business process improvement. Like I said, we have some existing process, and then of course we use some IT to just improve them and make them better. And then we have the business process automation. Like I was saying before, we can use robotics for this. No, we can remove the human hand and just start to put any automation of some sort. It can be robotics, it can be software, it can be any AI, etc. So again, this go all together because in the end, when we're thinking of the business process management or the reengineering, we will think which areas we can optimize, which areas we can change completely, which areas we just need to automate, etc. Okay, very good. So in this case, I mean, we have, I just go roughly through this one, which is the initiation, which is we need to understand, is this possible or not, in terms of money, in terms of resources, in terms of the company, in terms of the processes, existing processes that we have. We can have a prototyping, which is once we did a thorough study of whether it's possible or not on paper, then perhaps we're going to start to do the prototype. We will usually companies don't go for 100% change. Well, they go. I mean, I'm not gonna generalize, and that was a very bad thing to say. Many companies, what they do is they start with some departments and see how it works, and as a pilot, they move it, and if it works, then they go to the whole company. But there's some other companies that they go the other way around. They say, why waste time when in the end at some point we will change? So rather go through all the pain very quickly and then try to fix everything as quickly as possible, or like I said, instead of slowly facing the pain, right? So different approaches, different companies. Comes implementation, and then of course the maintenance, where we check and see how these processes are being good or not. Okay, so we have to revise the organizational structure. So we have to understand that initially there's ad hoc activities. In this case, at this stage, there's no formal organization related to e-commerce. So there's probably some systems, but scattered around the company, and then we don't understand them. So in this case, we have the focusing the effort, which is we focus the efforts on moving into more onto e-commerce. So e-commerce, e-business, both go together. Comes to the formalization, where it says which processes we need to change, which softwares we need to implement, when, how, who, how much. That is pretty much we put on paper, and of course we measure whether it is possible to do it or not. Like I said, sometimes we cannot deliver because we don't have the capabilities, especially when it's particularly like small companies have very strong problems with this. So here I'm just going to talk about general the advantages and disadvantages of organizational structure. So when it comes to digitalization, many barriers are broken. And that is a very big issue because initially everybody is divided. How to say, finance just do finance, operations those do operations, supply chain only supply chain. But with digital implementation, the boundaries blur. So people start to get more connected, people start to get more confused, and it's good because there's more information flowing. In terms of the information is flowing, but in terms of the structures of the company, they start to get blurred of what is my responsibility and what is yours, and it's something that needs to be reorganized when there is a digital implementation. Okay, so here we have it is how to say, if we put it like we're treating the company as a breakup with the boyfriend or the girlfriend. No, first of all is a shock, then denial, then depression, let it go, testing, consolidation, and reflection. The same thing goes for a change management in a company. First of all is, no, we don't need that system, or why do you want to change the current? Actually, I'm just gonna go through each one. Shock, why we need to change the system, we're working well, there's no need to change it. For some employees, I'm not saying, some places, yeah, the current system is rubbish, let's just change it, hopefully. But again, we need to communicate to the employees what really want to achieve out of this system, and what's the benefits at a larger scale and at a minor scale. Again, know why we change the system. Depression, as in I need to work more. I need to change all the data into this format. I need to do things that didn't have to do before. Now I need to do things of other departments, etc. And then the letting go, when it's a requirement of the company, you don't have anything to do. Just go with it. Then comes again the testing. Okay, trial, consolidation, the system. Okay, I go to the training, I start to use the system, and then of course comes the reflection and learning, which comes usually most of the time, if the system is adequate, if the strategy is adequate, it will result on good systems, people happy, people really realizing that this system really brings so many benefits. And we need to be very careful with this, because when it's not planned, actually, rather than bringing more benefits, it brings more issues. People think that digitalization is the magic wand that will fix all our operational problems, and it's not. If it's not planned, if the company already had issues, digitalization is just going to exacerbate those issues. So here, when we already turn into digitalization, we start to get more information. We know more things. That means we have access to data that perhaps before was lost. In this case, for example, let's say, for saying an example, in the manufacturing, I used to do process A and process B. Within process A and process B of the manufacturing, there were some lead times that were lost. We don't know where the we don't know where the pieces are, how they move, how long they were stored in there. So we don't have that information. But let's say, for example, we put an RFID, which is the barcode, and we start to extract information of every single movement of that component. So that generates information, and that is precisely what we need to manage. There's no point of having a lot of information if we're not going to use it. Yeah, let's say, for example, that material, that component stayed in inventory for 2 days. Great. So we have to figure out what to do with that. And that becomes knowledge. Because if not, it's just information, it's just data. Knowledge comes when we learn and we apply it, and then we use precisely the business intelligence. With all that data, make sense of it and what actions we can do. In this case, for example, if we realize there's 2 days there, a product in inventory, how can we move it faster? Is there any way that we put it somewhere else, etc.? So those become actions. So again, like I said, this is knowledge, which in this case, we also need to understand how we're going to manage that knowledge. Because let's say, for example, in this same example, some of the tools are moving, so the employee that carries out that process, he knows it, but when he quits, it's gone. That knowledge is gone. So that's not good. So here is where companies need to encourage to register all those operations, all those systems, and make them written so that we manage that information and it's retained within the company. Otherwise, it's just flowing out. Okay, very good. Yeah, this one, just like I said, we go through a process of identifying if there's knowledge, how to use it, how to store it, and how to retrieve it. If we have information within the company that is easily accessible for other employees, if I want to know, let's say, for example, I'm another department, I'm from sales, and I want to know how quickly I can retrieve these products. And if that information and that knowledge is stored in a proper way, I can access it. But if not, if I don't have any access to it, then again, it's lost information, lost knowledge. For that matter, the more information that we have, the better risk assessment we can understand, we can do, right? We can look into the process and say where it's risky, what what is the data offering me now that I can assess, I can measure and anticipate, right? That is precisely the beauty of data. The beauty of data tells us things in advance. We can create models. We can put the data to the test and see if we do this, what will happen. So we get a better knowledge. We had the data, we put it to test. Okay, what happens if we increase the production in a 20%? So we run the model, we run the test, and we can forecast that operationally we need 5 more employees. It's going to cost us this amount. Works well, right? Fantastic. And then we can manage that risk, and then we can take actions. But what happens in reality is that, again, in analog systems, we didn't have that information. So let's increase the production in 20%. And because there was no data, we don't have the employees. We cannot hire those employees. We go to a production, and suddenly we're short in labor, and it comes as a shock. So what do we do with it? Let's try to hire someone as quickly as possible, but we need to get this now. And tomorrow is late. No, yesterday is late already. So in this case, we need to we have operational problems because we didn't manage that risk. So it's problematic. So anyways, again, there's many types of risks. This one I want you to read it on your own. Okay. And well, pretty much that's it. As a conclusion, when we want to go through transformational change, it's painful, but we need to understand it. If we don't understand why we're doing it, the chances of failing are big. Managing the risk, managing the knowledge, writing it, putting down, that works well. This is this unit is a whole subject, right? Because there's many things to analyze when we're doing a transformational change, and it's something that actually we did throughout the semester. So pretty much that's it. So this is all for today. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week.